The material discussed in this program is for information purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a recommendation for investing or as legal advice. Each person has his or her specific situation, circumstance, and objective, and should consult their own personal advisor or counsel.
Thursday morning on KSJE. Joining me now here in the studio is Jason Calcote from Citizens Trust and Investment Corporation for our weekly check on the economy. Jason, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So what's been going on? I guess a lot of trade talk, right?
Yeah, we've got China front and center again in the news. There was a little bit of a spark there. It came out that they are going to reduce tariffs on imports. So right away, that kind of sounds like something positive.
Yeah, except there's a but. I'm waiting for
there's a but. Yeah, there always is. So this isn't really an ease on U.S. imports. This is more a target of average tariff rates for the majority of their trade partners, with the gist of it being to increase purchasing power for the Chinese people. So it's more of housekeeping for the domestic economy.
I see.
They want to kind of ramp up spending, so to ease that that crunch or the purchasing, we've got tariffs going lower, so people can afford more stuff and they're getting out there and spending more in the local economy.
Interesting. Got you. And so, and of course, the U.S. and China have been going back and forth on tariffs and things over trade, and so I guess that's a direct response to some of this action from the U.S. side?
Yeah, we've got this standoff with the U.S., and a lot of the economists are saying that it's going to get worse before it gets better. This stuff is more housekeeping for their domestic economy, and they're not really... they're not really messing with the U.S. right now. We've had talks break down again, and hopefully we'll get back in there and talk some more, but we've still got a little bit of a storm to weather, I think, before stuff starts getting better there.
All right. Well, we'll check and see.
Yeah. Okay. And then, speaking on the global scene of trade right now, oil is usually front and center on that as well.
Yeah, right.
So if you'll remember, we've got oil kind of bouncing around between 65 and 70, maybe getting up a little bit past 70, and then kind of crashing right back down. That's really as a result of the oil market being pulled in two different directions. On one side of it, we've got the U.S., who's still ramping up their production. We've got oil coming out. We're getting it out there for consumption.
Right.
And then we've also got Russia, whose output is actually as high as it's ever been in the post-Soviet era. So they're really ramping up production too. And on the flip side of this, so where we've got this supply going into the global oil market, on the flip side of that, we've got some of these OPEC nations, specifically Iran, who's got some sanctions on them that are fairly crippling when it comes to exporting oil for them. And then all the unrest that's going on in Venezuela right now.
Right.
There's nothing getting better over there. From what I've heard, it's just getting worse.
Right.
So now we've got these two countries that are usually got this influx of oil into the market who aren't really doing that. So on one side, you've got the U.S. and Russia ramping up production. On the other side, you've got Iran and Venezuela who are not really up to what they usually do. So the oil market's kind of in this limbo right now.
Okay.
And that's why you're kind of seeing the price not really go anywhere. It's going from 65 to 70, maybe 72, and then dropping back down.
But hovering right in that area.
Hovering right in that area.
And what, isn't Russia and Venezuela both members of OPEC, are they not?
Yeah, so, we'll see, because OPEC, I can't remember if Russia is or not now that we say that.
Okay.
But
Venezuela is.
Venezuela is, yes, definitely.
Yes.
And, we've got OPEC meeting next month. It's the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. They're meeting on Sunday, actually.
Okay.
So they're trying to extend the production cuts into 2019. We'll see if that happens or not. You've got some of these countries like Saudi Arabia who are really seeing the U.S. and Russia benefit from these cuts in production.
Right.
And so I think they want to get a piece of the pie, too.
But they want to keep those cuts in, I guess, to keep the price from collapsing. Isn't that the idea?
That's
there's
exactly
a big glut
right.
of oil if everyone starts just pumping out.
Yep, we saw that happen a few years ago, where the production was just off the charts, and as a result, oil, went down.
We're talking about $20 a gallon or a barrel of oil.
Yep, so with the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, before, very closely actually, and she's an expert in the regulations. We saw in 2008 all the regulations come back down when we had the financial crisis going on.
Right.
She was actually really key in instrumenting a lot of those regs.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, it is interesting because this administration has expressed that they want to deregulate industry.
Right.
So
a nominee from them, I guess is what you're saying.
It is. So I think, it's a well-rounded Fed, though. So
Which is, I guess, what you want.
It is what you want. It is what you want. She is a Democrat. I think that this move really should help keep the interest rate hikes on pace. We've seen those kind of stumble because we don't have inflation going on as much as we thought we were. The inflation is hovering around 2%.
Right.
So the interest rate hikes are usually to curtail that. So she, I think, may be instrumental in keeping those on pace.
Interesting. Okay. And it's this board that advises, I guess, the chairman.
Right.
And then they're able to decide whether that they're going to raise interest rates or what have you.
That's exactly right.
Isn't that the idea?
That's the idea.
So, okay, interesting. Real check on the markets real quick. We've got some charts and
Sure,
graphs.
sure.
You know how I love charts and graphs,
I
Jason.
love them too. Let's bring them up.
This is, I think this is the Dow Jones Industrial Index.
Let's see. We got S&P up. Is that S&P?
Oh, that's S&P.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's the
S&P
title.
500,
Well, there you go.
500 biggest domestic stocks.
Thank you.
We've got a two-day run right now where they're up again. The futures have indicated that Wednesday it's supposed to be up again. It looks like it opened quite a bit up on today. Wow. So yeah, so that'll be fun to watch. You know, we've got the Dow Jones as well has been on a two-day climb, starting high this week.
Okay.
So the markets are going strong right now.
Interesting. All right.
And
very good.
the one thing to kind of talk about is gold, though. That hasn't done as well as most people would think. Gold is a kind of a hedge of volatility. But it's down for the year, and that's mostly due to the pending rate hikes. The trade conflict is really pushing investors towards the U.S. dollar.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Jason, well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Always great to visit with you. That's Jason Calcote from Citizens Trust and Investment Corporation. He's here every Thursday to check on the economy for us here on KSJE Farmington.